Chris Cusimano, and I am joined by my co-host today, who's filling in for two co-hosts that Jen and Alex couldn't make it today. So Jair, I guess he pulled him off the bench. Say hi to the people, Jair.
What's going on, Chris? Jair Riategi with the Homes by Kusi team and Keller Williams, Boca Raton. Glad to step in today.
You haven't done one of these with us, have you?
I have not. I've been on the bench for a while, warming up. And that day when you don't think you're going to get a call, you get a call 3 minutes later, 3 minutes into it, and you got to be ready to play.
Yeah, we have a
super man, coach.
So who you guys just heard, her name is Laura Phillips. She is a reverse mortgage specialist. I'm super excited about this topic. We're going to dive into that in just a second because it's a topic that I'm not too familiar with, even 20-something years into the business. She's going to fill us in and tell us how we can use this as real estate agents, or if you're just a consumer who found us some other way, how it might be able to help you and your family too. But before we do that, real quick with Jair, if for y'all listening, he is part of the Homes by Kusi team. And if you haven't listened, if you haven't seen him online on our social media and all that stuff, I just want to kind of explain who he is and what he's about. And he's always itching to get on the podcast, but we just, opportunity never really hit until now. So it'll be kind of exciting to see how today goes. This is where you say something, Jair.
Oh, I thought you were announcing that you were gonna say something. Well, I've been on the team since May of last year. Oh, phone ringing. That's good. And since I joined the team, my phone has been ringing more. So I'm glad that I'm on board. Been learning a lot. Been working the system every day, and 4 months in, 4 listings in. So I'm really excited to continue learning and growing.
I know. Oh, you can clap it up, Laura. You can do it.
Good, you bet. Good.
All right, cool. So, but this show today, thank you. I did not pay him for that plug. But whatever, I'll take it. So we're going to get into reverse mortgages today. And that's why I secured a podcast etiquette 101, Jair. Put that silencer on. I know you're new to this game. And then, but we have Laura Phillips with us. She reached out. She was like, hey, I do something unique that a lot of people are not heard of or not too familiar with. And I'm like, and at this point in my career, I'm like, I heard it all. What could this possibly be? And she was like, I do reverse mortgages. I'm like, I did hear that, but I don't know about that. And I would like to know more about it. So Laura's the pro. Why don't you introduce yourself and let's get this going.
Hey, I'm Laura Phillips. I have been in lending for over 30 years, and I have, it's a passion for me. I really understand the numbers and how they flow. I actually started out as a realtor, so I appreciate what you guys do. But I could never figure out how to tell somebody to buy the house and just paint the kitchen yellow, their favorite color. But I can run those numbers. I got that piece down. It's an internal thing for me. And about 7 years ago, I realized that there was an underserved market, and it is a senior market. It is the 55 plus market. I went into reverse mortgages full on, and that is all I do. Even though I'm licensed to do all loans, it is the loan of preference.
Okay, well, tell us about it. So why is it different from a regular mortgage? And I guess the segue from that will naturally be, why is it mostly for 55 plus that segment?
Absolutely. How about a little bit of history on reverse mortgages? Just a little quick history.
Let's do it.
Absolutely. It's been out since the Reagan era. So that's going to date me, but I think that was back in the 70s, if I look at my dates correctly. And it started out as actually a loan that was done with a savings and loan to help a woman who had lost her husband and had 5 children. It was a little community bank loan that put it together so she could stay in the home. They had a lot of equity. She couldn't afford to make the payments on her own. So that is actually what a reverse mortgage is. It uses the equity of your home to help make the payments on the loan and allows you to live in it without having to make a mortgage payment. Now, my millennial daughter wants to figure out how to get into this program.
Of course.
She does not want to have to make a mortgage payment. So it is designed for traditionally HUD products, which is an FHA product, is for 62 and up. But I actually have a proprietary or jumbo loan product that'll go down to 55 up to be able to take the equity in your home that you have and pay off your current forward mortgage or other bills that you want to pay off, or actually even just put a lump sum aside to grow in a legacy for heirs and live in the house without having to make a mortgage payment if you don't want to. So that's kind of what a reverse mortgage does. It allows you to, as a senior, because we are talking about people who are 55 or 62 and up, to be able to make those retirement years easier. Now, reverse mortgages are out all over the world. You'll see them in Australia, England, Canada. I mean, I think there's probably 50, 60 countries that use reverse mortgages to help their seniors live on more fixed incomes and live comfortably, and maybe not have to rely on so much services from the states, from the countries that they live in. So they are a very, very popular loan.
So why is it only for the senior community?
Good question. Because I guess they figure you guys make enough money to be able to pay your mortgages back.
I'm like, I want to do this. I mean,
my millennial daughter's all in. So what do I have?
I gotta wait 12 years.
Yeah, wait. I think it was because back then, if we look back into the Reagan eras and then going forward, retirement wasn't really a lot of money. You know, I mean, it wasn't really set up. They had pensions, and a lot of people had pensions, but retirement wasn't a situation that maybe even covered all of the funds. I think historically we don't save enough for retirement. Something that's a scary fact for all of us, no matter what age we're at. We don't plan for all of a sudden having to have a medicine that costs $550 a month. It's not in your annual budget to think about those things. So reverse mortgage was designed to help people be able to age out in their homes and not have to go, if they don't want to aging centers.
So my brain's already working with questions, and my first one is: would you think that the fact that we've seen so much appreciation in the last 4 years, maybe has that pushed, and also the rising cost of living, has that pushed for more people to be interested in this product, you would say?
Well, that's what the boomers are really sitting on, and I'm a boomer, so we boomers are sitting on a lot of equity, absolutely, and it'll be a big transfer of wealth when we finally get around to doing that. We were lucky; we bought houses that were inexpensive, and then we rode the appreciation. We had to survive a few bumps in the road and hang on to that house. That was for sure a problem, but we have been able to, in the last 5 years, see tremendous amount of equity in our homes. That has really helped the seniors now living in their houses. Let's turn it to what you could do with it, and then let's talk specifically about how it can help you guys as realtors. So I have people who do a reverse mortgage. They can put money into a line of credit, which grows separate from the interest rate. So there's two buckets. Let's use 2 buckets. One is the interest rate going against the loan of the house, and the other is a line of credit that they've taken out, just like your traditional HELOCs are. Again, not having to make any payments on it. They don't need to use it. They have plenty of assets to be able to live their lives comfortably in the house. They've allowed that line of credit to grow. I have seen those numbers go up over $1 million in a 30-year time period. So if somebody puts it on their home when they're in their 60s, they have an incredible nest egg to give to their children, hang on to, and take care of themselves and not be a burden to their children. So that is the most popular loan out there, is the line of credit. It is an adjustable rate loan. Reverses also come in fixed, although I haven't seen it be used. The last quarter that was reported by HUD, nobody used a fixed in the state I was looking at. So they were all adjustable rates. It is by far the most popular loan out there, even though interest rates fluctuate back and forth.
Laura, I didn't follow the reverse mortgage line of credit. Like, it seems, tell me, maybe you said it and I just didn't hear it. What's different between a normal line of credit and a reverse mortgage line of credit?
The payment. And
tell me more.
And that a bank, that's usually where we get our lines of credit, is from banks. I mean, I think there are some other, or credit unions. They can cut that and turn it off. We saw that happen with 2002 and 2010. When we had the collapse of the industry, we saw them turn off our lines of credit. We got up the next morning and we had $50,000 that was available to us, and it was gone. They turned those off. The line of credit with a reverse mortgage does not, as it stands right now, the rulings that are in place, it will not turn off. So it means that it's going to happen. It's going to be there for you should we ever see a kind of collapse again in our economy.
So how would that work? If a home loses equity and the equity is no longer there, how can a bank honor equity that doesn't exist?
It's kind of it's a good question. I don't, it's a conundrum as far as I can see. It's like the the Wizard of Oz and the guy behind the curtain, to say the least. It's two pockets. So the line of credit is assigned an interest rate, and it grows. So it accumulates. It doesn't pay you interest. It pays you interest in availability of funds the next year. So that's how. So there are two different buckets that
Okay.
move, and they move in separately of what's going on. So can the house turn upside down? Absolutely. If we see another market like we had in the past, then the house could be upside down and the line of credit would still be available.
What it sounds like, and tell me if I'm wrong, it sounds like the bank is leveraging the equity of the house for their investment purposes and then kicking interest back to the available balance of the loan for eventually the homeowner to be able to tap into in the future.
You know, the bank's the federal government, but yeah, in essence,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
they're bonds. They're sold in the Ginnie Mae pools and Fannie Mae pools. They have a HECM pool, and so they're
Got
sold
it.
in those pools. But yeah, that would be in essence, yes.
So the government is leveraging your equity for investment purposes or whatever, and in return for leveraging that, they're kicking back an interest rate on top of that. So it's essentially you became a bank for the government in right?
Kind
Ish?
of, right. You still own your home, just like you do. It's a loan. It's like a loan, like any other loan you do out there. So you're still on title of your home. You still have it. They can foreclose on you for two reasons. You didn't pay your property taxes, or you didn't say that you lived in the house during that year. You have to live in the home. You have to say that it's your primary home. Now, can you take a trip to Africa for 7 months out of the year? Absolutely. Can you go to a nursing home because you fell and you need to do rehab for a long time? Absolutely. But you need to say that you've lived in the house. Just like an FHA says you have to operate and live in your home for a certain amount of time. That's true for this loan.
Got it. Okay, what do you got, Jair?
Why sometimes when people hear this type of product, they get a little jumpy or like iffy or scared. Why do you think it's gotten a bad rap? And because what you're telling me, it definitely works for some people who are trying to live their best life right now on the equity of their home and have somebody else worry about it later.
Right. It did. And back in the early days of a reverse mortgage, they just put the oldest person. Well, they put the male on, and typically the male was the oldest person in the household in those time periods. And when that person passed away, the widow was literally left on the street. Now that's bad press, every way around. So there've been a lot of changes. So what I tell people is it's not your grandmother's reverse mortgage. It's a kinder, more gentler product. They've had a lot of aha moments along the way to make it a better product for consumers to use. So now we use both spouses or significant others if it's in a relationship, but we use the youngest age of that person to calculate how much equity it can be tapped. Now, you can't tap 75, 80% of your equity. It's not a loan that will allow you to do that. Probably the maximum amount is, if both people are either 55 or 62, depending on the two products, they can tap about 40% of their equity. And the rest is left in the home. Now it's designed to, one, cover the mortgage. Banks they don't want to own your house. They're not interested. I went through that whole process. They are not interested in being real estate owners at all. So they want to make sure there's enough money in there that they're not going to own the home, that it can still be sold. Now it could be sold at a negative, but they don't want that property. So that's why it's 40%. Now, the oldest person I've done a reverse mortgage for was for 92 years old. We calculated out 10 years. We calculated out 30 years, usually taking it to be 100 with the average person. But since he was 90, we went out 10. And he was able to tap 65% of his value. So we have 3 gears moving to figure out how much we can actually get in a reverse mortgage. One is age. One is the value of the property less any liens against it. We're going to talk about how we use that as a purchase in just a second. And number 3 is the interest rate. So all 3 of these gears are turning together to mesh to figure out exactly how much you can have at any given point.
You just kind of segued into my next question. How would you use this in a purchase?
How did you use it in a purchase? So we're going to use some fictitious numbers because my brain's really good at easy numbers. How about you guys?
Yeah, let's do that.
For me. Easy does it.
Perfect. Perfect. So I live in Colorado, and I am so tired of the winters and the sub-zero weather. So I'm going to come down and see you guys in Palm Beach.
Okay. Do it.
And sell my house, and I get, I don't know. Now we're just going to use fictitious numbers that probably don't actually add up to being purchases either in your area. I'm going to net out $500,000 after everything's done with my house, paying off my loans, paying out the realtor fees, commissions, and the closing costs. At $500,000, I come down and I look in your neighborhood, and it doesn't really go very far. I mean, it's okay, but it's not great. And I find something in your neighborhood for $500,000, but I don't want to take all of my nest egg and put it into the house because I need some of that money to live on. I have retirement, but I need some of that money to live on. I can theoretically purchase that house for about 60% of the value of the home. So what's 60% of 500,000? Three something?
300. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to come to the closing table with $300,000, not $5. I'm going to purchase the home. It's now a reverse mortgage, and I've kept $200,000 of my original $5 in my pocket. I live in that home. I pay the HOA fees for the community because that's what I know is happening down there. We don't have them as much here in Colorado. I will have my property taxes and my homeowner's insurance, and I'm going to live in this home. So I fill out a form every year that they send that says, yes, I lived in the home. I was off in Europe for a while, but I'm back. I'm here. And I get to use my $200,000, enjoy my $500,000 house that I just bought in your neighborhood. And that's how a reverse mortgage, in a very quick 30,000-foot overview, works.
Sounds easy.
Sounds easy. It's a loan. It is a loan. Okay, so we don't use credit scores. I mean, I've been a mortgage lender forever. So, we look at everything. Sometimes I joke and say we even ask for your underwear size. I mean, we ask you a lot to be able to get a loan. I think everybody complains about the what we do to get loans. For the reverse mortgage, it's an asset-based loan. So it's based on the home. Can the home support the value? We look at credit. It's not a ding if you've had bankruptcies or foreclosures, or you even have some rough credit. Those things would probably trigger that we would take and do what we call a LISA. Now, LISA is what you look at as an escrow account. So we would take and do that instead. That would take some of the equity out of the house and put it in an account to allow the taxes and insurance to be paid on the homeowner's behalf. They're pretty easy loans. I need to make sure people can pay their property taxes and insurance, 1/12 of it. So we're adding it up. So looking at Social Security payments. I don't care if you get money from wherever. I don't want to know about offshore accounts, any of that stuff. I just want how much you make that I can legally look at and present. And so it's pretty light in a loan processing process. So
who would you say it's your perfect candidate or avatar for a reverse mortgage?
Anybody that is 55 for a jumbo loan, and that goes up to $4 million, by the way, or a senior that can go up to and wants to do a standard FHA type HUD product, and that is going to be 62, that doesn't want to spend all of their money to buy a place. Now, they can use a reverse mortgage to buy a second home. Let's say that I wanted to live in Colorado and still keep that. So I'm going to take and make a reverse mortgage on my home here in Colorado and come down and buy a little condo so that I can be a snowbird and be away from the winter that was pretty harsh this year. So I can come buy a second home, and my first is on my mortgage on my house here in Colorado. Is that example? And I can come and buy a nice little, what do you call it, turnkey? Like it's lock and go. Is that the right words? Where I just come and go?
Turnkey.
Turnkey, great. I can buy a turnkey place and come down and enjoy the fabulous weather that's down there. And I love to walk on the beach. It's one of my favorite things to do. And have a second home. So anybody I can't imagine any senior that won't look at a reverse mortgage at some point in their life. It's timing. And it really is all about the timing and their needs.
But it does, right? It taps into their equity, right? So they might have concerns about what legacy they're going to leave behind for their kids and grandkids, right? Because it eats at that, you know.
It does. It
Yeah.
does.
So that's something to
Absolutely.
consider.
And so that's a conversation that we have. And we talk with, I mean, I usually have family members join us when we have counseling about it. Is how much do they want to, and some people want to, one of the reasons not to do a reverse mortgage is if you want to leave the house to the kids, don't do a reverse mortgage. Absolutely.
Well, there's a balance there because let's say if you're getting older and you might need more care, more assistance,
Right.
then there's a cost that's involved there as well. So you have to like, okay, if you're the kid or who might be inheriting that equity later on, but you have to pay the cost of that care now, you have to weigh, okay, well, maybe we should leverage this reverse equity type of thing.
You absolutely. And
kind of help with that care.
It would help with the care because if mom and dad can't afford to pay for the care, then they're looking for help. And most of us children are like, oh, we need to do something. We need to help our parents out. I don't know many people that can afford house payments. Right. And like you said, and help them. So it does take that burden off of the next generation that's coming up to take care of mom and dad. Now, if they wanted to leave the house to the children, and this is a titling situation that I stay out of, that's not my lane. But what they should do is set it up so the title is set up so that when they pass on, both of them, they can purchase the home for 95% of the loan balance. So mom and dad could still put a reverse on the house and use it to be able to help them bring care in. And then at the end, be able to purchase the home for that. I've only seen that happen once. The woman had it late in life, seemed to be able to manage her funds and be okay. Her house was probably in the mid sevens at that time, but she only had a $300,000 loan on it. And so the kids, which was a son that was it was a special needs son, and they wanted to have it go to him, so that he had been living in it his whole time with her. Sure. And he was able to purchase that and live in the house in continuation for him for the rest of his life. So there are examples of where it can work.
I have a question on that because I didn't quite understand it. So the son had the option to go ahead and purchase it for 95% of that loan amount, or
yes,
the house was worth?
Okay. The loan amount, not the house. The house's value was $700.
Mm-hmm. He can go ahead and get a mortgage for that if he needed.
He could get a forward mortgage for it. You bet. You bet. So that's estate planning. You definitely need to think forward. What are you going to do? And you have to make sure the title passes correctly. Since I don't have anybody ask me that, most of the people that I have worked with, in fact, all the people I've worked with as a reverse mortgage tell me, my kids are fine. Mm-hmm. I need to worry about myself and make sure that I'm okay. I haven't had any of them say, I'm really concerned about my children. This was just a unique situation where they reached out to me to see what we could do.
To Chris's point, right, thinking about it and my parents are getting older, I would say either you're going to pay for it now, or you can leverage the equity. And later on, if you really want to keep that, we're Latin, so we really, really like our homes, and we have like a attachment to them. So we may not sell. And usually Latin families want to pass the house down to their family members.
Right.
So if you're not going to pay for it now, you can pay for it later. And if you believe that you're going to be in a better financial situation later to get a mortgage on this house for a lot less than what it's worth,
right,
this is definitely an option for people to consider.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it is a way of still doing it and making sure that they're taken care of. I mean, a lot of people want to age in their house. And after we went through COVID, I think everybody thinks they want to age in their house. After we saw what happened with that situation. So it allows you to do that, to set up the home. Or even if I bought in Florida, but it didn't have grab bars in the bathroom, but I just needed to make some changes to make it more comfortable for me to be able to stay there. I could take my reverse mortgage money from what I took out of my primary home to come on and buy my second home on the beach, a dream for mine forever, and customize it so that I could age out in it nicely when I'm down there enjoying it.
So that's awesome. So Laura, what I'm thinking in my head is, because you used to be a real estate agent, and Jair and I are real estate agents, and a lot of people listening are real estate agents. How does this work in for like how does this benefit us? Because we're trying to sell property, right?
You're still selling it. You're selling the home. It's still a loan. So I'm going to come down and see you. I'm going to hire you as my agent, and I'm going to ask you to find me a house. And the one I fell in love in was $500,000.
Oh, so yeah, so it would be good on the purchase side of things. So because you're the purchase side. Okay,
yeah,
got it.
And it's called H4P, HECM for purchase. We love acronyms in this business. So H for P, and that is exactly what it is. Now we can do a fixed rate, or we can do an adjustable rate. The fixed rate is, I'm going to have that 6.5% interest rate for the rest of my life. Yay. Also means that I'm going to have more equity in the house, which means I bring more cash to the table. So I have to weigh how much I want to bring in cash versus keep in my pocket. So in our example, if we go back to that $500,000 condo that I'm going to buy from you to purchase as my second home down there, I'm probably not want to give all of my money to that. So I'm probably going to look at that adjustable rate. But I also like that line of credit growth. Who doesn't? It pays almost the same as the interest rate. So if my adjustable rate is at 6%, my line of credit bucket is also growing at almost 6%. Now, my bank's not going to give me 6% for that money. So I'm thinking maybe I want to overfund that purchase. That's a word you'll hear when you're doing that. Overfund the purchase. So I might put $50,000 extra into the house. Now I have a little. I bought it for the 300, and I came to the closing table with 350. That 50,000 is now growing in a line of credit at that hypothetical 6% interest rate, and that's the funds I'm going to use to take care of property taxes, any changes I want to do to the house. I put new air conditioning in, whatever.
So there's. Sorry, go ahead, Jair. Go.
And that line of credit, the 50,000, are also not due back until the end term of the loan, which is when the owner passes.
Right. If I don't use it, it just goes. It doesn't even show up as part of the loan amount that needs to be paid. It just needs more equity in the home. Correct.
There were a lot of scenarios that we spoke about in a really quick amount of time, in just 20 something minutes. So forgive me if I got lost on this part here.
All right.
So if you have a property in Colorado and you have, X amount of equity, you're saying that you could use a reverse mortgage from that equity to purchase a new house, right? So here's where I got lost. I remember you saying that this would have to be a primary property. Which one's your primary now?
My primary property in that example would be my home in Colorado or Texas or wherever I'm living. My primary property would be where I'm living.
So you have a vacation home.
It's a vacation
got
home.
Them. Yeah. Got it.
Now, if I want to sell my home, it's two scenarios. It's either going to be a second home that I'm going to purchase there in your area, or I'm going to just move and be closer to the kids, or not be closer to the kids, but enjoy the beach.
Just basically be where you want to be.
Be where I want to be. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. There's a lot here, and there's a lot of things I'm unpacking in my brain, but I'm pretty sure I got it. Jair, what do you have questions on?
I think that the individual who goes for this product, based on everything we've talked about, has got to have a certain situation and many moving parts make sense for them to take this big decision, especially at a later stage in their life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the ideal avatar, well, obviously it would be, the older community, who just needs to tap into some equity to live a comfortable lifestyle, right? Or to make a big purchase like a second home. So those are the type of things. That's what I'm trying to hammer home, like to anyone listening and to myself, honestly, is like, okay, how do I take this new knowledge and use it as a value or benefit conversation with clients of what other options exist out there that they may not be aware of? So I guess, Laura, to you, this is an obvious question, but for us listening, only hearing this for the first time,
Right.
not getting it right away, it's not so much. What would be scenarios? Let's say you're on a listing presentation. Let's say someone who's older, in the 70s or something like that, 80s, and they want to sell the property. But maybe then we find out they have equity. And then where do the signs come up where you're like, you know what? A reverse mortgage might be better for them.
I would say that they're probably, I know you guys, I call it the good, the bad, and the ugly. You show me 3 homes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at least that was our experience when we were buying. And so oddly enough, the one that won was the great one, was also the highest priced home.
Yeah.
It was also the best one. It didn't require any work on our part.
That's common.
That's common. So you're going to have that person standing there, and you're watching them. I mean, you guys are really good at reading the clues of how people feel and how they feel about the home.
Mm-hmm.
That hesitation that tells you that this is the home, but they are looking at that price, and there's no negotiation on the price. The price is going to be the price, and they're looking at the interest rates, and they're thinking, how are we going to make those mortgage payments? That's a great time to say, have you ever thought about using a reverse mortgage to purchase a house? I just say it's another arrow in your quiver of arrows that can help you sell a home. It's
okay.
Another tool in your bag. I have a great book that everything's reversed on my side of the video.
No, it's good here. I see it.
Okay, great.
You're good.
I'd like to send this to you, or if you guys will reach out to me, I'll put these in the mail. This is simply how to buy a house using a reverse. It talks a little bit about the history, talks about how it's calculated and how it works. Now, I have a much thicker book that I make sure clients get to be able to feel comfortable when they go through the counseling session. But I think this is a great book for you to have. I've done several reverse for purchases, and I get both the seller and the buyer's realtors get one of these copies because it's the first time they've seen the loan also.
Yeah, and that's very helpful because even though we have a conversation here, things just leave the brain. So having it on paper there as a guide to revert back to later is a smart play. So you made this more of it's not a pamphlet, it's a book, but then you made a larger version with more context.
I would love to say I had written this book. Trust me.
Just say you did. No one's gonna know.
It's great value to give out. I love the whole idea of keeping one.
And I had so much time in my life that I wrote the bigger book.
Mm-hmm.
The bigger book has 50 questions in it that might come up as the consumer. And it's 1 page, 1 question, not in mortgage language, not in real estate language, just good old plain English explaining the concepts. So the consumer gets this book from me when we start the loan. Now, I can't say that every reverse mortgage lender out there is going to do this, but I believe in education. I believe that if people are well educated, they're going to make the best choice they've ever made for themselves.
Well, they can't make a decision if they don't know about it. They don't know,
What you don't know, you just don't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
This, and at the end, they get a second book, which I have them give to their heirs, and it talks about what happens after the mom and dad pass, and what happens to the reverse mortgage after that. So again, I really feel like people need to be well educated. So between the two, you as agents get this one. It's a good talking piece if you're talking to a client to say, why don't you look at this? Check it out. And then when you're set up to do an appointment to actually get the loan, I'm going to make sure that they're going to get the big copy to make sure that they answer questions. I've had clients bookmark half that book and highlight questions, and we just get on a Zoom call and we go over every one of them.
Yeah, because you're a professional. That's what you should do. I love it.
Right. And they're not fast loans. They are a little bit slower. I think for a purchase, it's still going to be about a month. I mean, we still honor the purchases come first, refinance comes second. I want people to have already taken their class before we start. The class is good for 6 months. So if they've taken their class and they have their certificate, the certificate idea behind that is to make sure that clients understand, the consumer understands that the only way they can lose the house is if they don't pay their property taxes, That's true on all loans, by the way.
Yep.
And that and the other one is that they say they own it, as a primary home, or that they're going to live in it. So again, the reverse mortgage is only on the primary home, but it can be used to buy second homes. It can be used to buy vacation homes. And that you are always entitled on the property.
Well, let's say you used equity from the first one to buy a second one in a reverse mortgage, and say you bought the second one all quote unquote cash, even though it's from a reverse mortgage.
Okay.
Do you have to pay insurance on that new house?
Oh yeah, you have to pay. Yeah, it's the new house, the second home.
Yeah, the second home. Because I'm wondering how you draw up a contract. Because in the contract, in the financing field, it wouldn't be cash, right? Even though you're using equity.
It's a loan.
It's still a loan, and you still have to go through an approval process for it.
Right. We still
Got
have
it.
to go
Got
through
it.
the approval process.
I was thinking if it was like, I was trying to see if it was similar to, say, I know it's not similar to, but I was thinking the overall concepts of like a hard money loan where people take that and then they buy cash, and then because they're quoting cash, they don't have to technically have insurance. I was just wondering if that was a similar thing.
Right. They are bringing money to the table. I mean, I'm going to come to the table on that scenario with my $300,000 in a cashier's check, or I'm going to wire it to the title company. I mean, I am going to come to the table, but I'm not coming with all 500 in that example that we talked about. I'm coming in with a portion of the cash to it. So it's still a loan. You're going to check it as a loan. Not everybody's contracts, Arizona, we had a hard time filling in the boxes for their purchase, and then I had a whole follow-up sheet that I tried to fill in the boxes as well as I could. But we work with each other, and I will answer all of the things that are required from your state to be able to say yes, this is being done. But it is, I mean, we do a loan application. I pull a credit report. We get an appraisal, goes to an underwriter, comes back from the underwriter with any kind of additional conditions, or the appraisal has, issues on it, and then we get a clear to close, and we close.
Sounds like a normal loan.
It's a loan. Amen.
Amen.
My mind is like kind of stepping a little bit into the future. And if something were to happen in Florida, where in a couple of years there are no more property taxes, people that were to use this product here have one less expense to worry about.
Why would that have to do with the property taxes, though?
Because what she was saying is that when you use a reverse mortgage, then the one thing you're responsible for paying.
She doesn't. You're probably not familiar with what's happening.
Yep.
No, are you getting rid of your property taxes?
Well, they're trying. If it does happen, it won't even get on the bill until 2026.
Yep.
And then if it's approved, there's like a whole follow-up process to make it work. Or if it does happen, in my estimate, it'll be like a 2029 thing.
Okay.
They're trying to get rid of property taxes because the affordability down here in Florida has gone up for a number of reasons, and taxes is one. But taxes seem to be the easiest burden to get rid of, because they can replace that income with a increased sales tax, where tourists would essentially foot the bill for residents.
Okay. Got it. Oh, that's interesting. That makes sense. The tourists would do. Well, then I mean, that would be a first in the nation, I would think, at this point. I can't think of anywhere that doesn't have property taxes in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
So that would probably be something that would be another place where there would be some changes to the rules on the loan. But I can't imagine right now, property taxes are a lien that goes ahead of all mortgages.
Yep.
So I can't imagine that would be a bad thing. I mean, it would just be one less thing that you would have to worry about paying.
Yeah, in this regard, it wouldn't be a bad thing. But on the big picture, the concerns is when you rely on sales tax, it really is not reliable. Like property taxes are reliable because it's just there. But what if people, times are tough and people don't spend as much, tourists don't come down as often, whatever, then all of a sudden you have this big fluctuation in funds. And that's the one, not related to this loan, of course, but just overall grand scheme of things, the concern that people are, they're actually doing studies on it now to see what they think.
That would be a concern. We had excess things here in Colorado, and they did a Tabor law where they had to give a certain amount back every year. And there were some lean years, and they didn't really want to give us the extra money back, and they caused some problems, but they had to. So that was definitely a situation. Now, I think your insurances are your hazard insurance, and you have hurricane insurance is definitely a high cost, and we would
very
want to
high
make sure that people can afford that.
Yeah, down here, if we would pivot a little bit, I don't know how interested you are in this, but you're talking about moving here, so maybe. So the affordability actually has been hard. Housing affordability has been not good. So what happened is they dropped their rates a couple years ago to basically nothing. So during COVID, everyone flocked here. Demand was up, prices went up. A lot of the boomers bought with cash because they had it, right? So the cash, so people, the mortgage rate. So in addition, so you have zero mortgage rate and cash buyers competing on the price going up on a high demand area. So what happened is, well, they had to stop that price increase because it just got too high, raise the interest rates, but the prices didn't change. So now you have high prices, high rates.
That's what we have here.
Yeah, and then what happened after that? The taxes reassessed before they were capped, homesteaded capped, right? They were capped, and now they're not. They got reassessed. So now you got high interest rates, high interest rates, high prices, high taxes, and then insurance happened. All the carriers pulled out because of the cost of doing business down here in Florida. So
I want to see your reaction, Laura. Yesterday, I was super happy because I had 2 insurance quotes coming in for a buyer for a single family home, and they were both just a hair under $3,000
for a year.
Yes.
How's that possible?
For insurance for a house. I already paid that in Colorado.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. How'd you get that?
I'll send you the quote.
Okay, so maybe that's not so bad. Now,
I was super happy when I saw
No, that's good here.
Correct. That's great here. That's why I wanted to kind of see her reaction.
Yeah, no, that's actually what I pay. And I pay, my property taxes. Everybody's really screaming about their property taxes right now. We voted some bills in that allowed them to raise that. Of course, nobody ever actually thinks that's going to, what does that mean? So it looks good on paper.
Yeah, and then it happens.
And they've all come in. And so my property taxes are about $4,500 a year.
Oh, gosh. Don't move here.
Between the two, I'm probably paying almost $8,000.
That's good. well, compared to us, yeah.
Right. It would be now. If I lived in Connecticut, Connecticut's property taxes are ridiculous. Sorry, Connecticut.
Are they higher than Florida's?
Yes, a lot of people.
What's their rough? Do you know roughly their percentage or millage rate?
They're probably closer to 10 or higher. The price range house I'm in.
10?
Yeah.
Oh, $10,000. I thought you meant like okay.
No. So the example of the person that did the $1 million is actually from Connecticut. It's a family that it's a financial planner who tells the story, and he actually recommended the reverse mortgage. They had Apple. They bought Apple when people thought it was an apple to eat, and they wanted to leave that to their children as their legacy. They also have a nice house in Connecticut with values that are absolutely great. So they put a reverse mortgage on. They could live and pay their bills. They put a line of credit on. The line of credit will grow to $1 million. They don't need to use it. Plus, they'll be able to give the children the apple. And they don't really care if the house goes upside down because the kids don't live in Connecticut.
Oh, well, that scenario works for them.
Right. So as Jar said, some of that is a different culture of your children get the house. So that's a consideration, and that definitely needs to be a conversation. But in most of them I've talked to, that's not a conversation. They don't care if the kids get the house or not, because most children don't live where the parents do.
No. Well, Laura, you know your stuff, and we're running out of time. So before we wrap this up, I think a good idea for you is if you have anyone interested in learning more, and you have your book that you want to send to them, how would they reach out to you and get that?
They can reach out to me by emailing me or going to laura@lauraphillips.com. That's my email address. It's just my name. And or they can call me at 303-817-4611. I am licensed in Florida. I'd be glad to help you. I'm licensed in 4 states: Colorado, Florida, Arizona, and California.
That's important because we do have a high contingent of 55 and over people here. So that's actually good. That's good to know. And if a scenario comes up where we're not too sure, thank you. Look at that. Look at my wife. She brought me lunch. Isn't that sweet? Yep.
Sweet.
So anyways,
if you have a question, you think this might be a great thing for a client, call me. Scenarios are pretty easy to run. I have to do it on the computer. I can't pull out my HP 12 and do it. It's not that kind of a loan, but I can run scenarios for you.
Okay. Well, hey, that's something. All right. We appreciate your time today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was very, very helpful. Actually, my mind's just like, oof, all these new tidbits I got to digest. Jair, sorry, Laurie, go ahead.
I was going to say, how many would you like me to send to your office?
Don't send too many because we'll leave it in the office, right, Jair? We don't need her to send
we'll take
20 of
turns.
them.
I'll definitely.
Well, how about if I send 2 or 3?
Okay. Yeah.
And then you can do a checkout scenario.
We actually have like this little thing in the corner of our office that has these different pamphlets for different things. So we do take a look at them when we need them. So we'll definitely keep it there. Absolutely.
Do that. I have taught this to classes and walked out, and those realtors were like, "Oh my God, why did we not know about this?" And it was actually for a 55 plus community that was being built.
You know, you say, before we wrap up, I want to bring you just thought of a good opportunity. So I run a coaching course, and Jair is actually a coach in the coaching course. It's Coaching by Kuzi, CUSI. But anyway, sometimes, so we meet Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon online. Noon our time will be, I don't know what it is for you. And
11, 12. No. 10,
Well,
11. Yeah.
it'll be
I'm 2 hours behind you.
it'll be
We're
10.
changing hours too. Let me throw that out there.
Yeah. Oh, okay. But if we wanted to do a QA session, we typically have like 20 to 30 agents in there. Would you pop on and just take over a class?
Absolutely.
I love that idea because I can honestly use a break.
I did, and I taught a class. I brought in lunch. I did it for a 55 plus community that didn't get off the ground, but thought they would. The developer ran into problems, and all those agents walked out going, "I've never seen anything like this in my life."
Yeah, it's fantastic stuff, and it's not something we hear often.
It is.
That last example about the family in Connecticut, just having 2 hard assets that they could both be leveraged, but deciding to keep one over the other because they think that horse is going to do better in the long term on the race, like their Apple stock, and willing to use the leverage on the house, just blew my mind away. Because in both cases, you're leveraging the equity on your hard assets in the long term. And sometimes we don't think about those options. And I think that's great to make that money work.
Most of us just let it sit. It sits like in the ground. I mean, I love the asset, but my values go up and down on appreciation. Let's take it and make it work for us. And that's exactly what it is.
I have a bunch of equity, but I can't. I'm not 55, so it's gonna sit. I should tap into investing in other things, but I don't.
Said, my daughter's like, "What does it take for me to get this?" Live to be long. Live to have a good life. That's what we said.
Amen to that. Enjoy the ride. All right, we're gonna wrap up. It was awesome, Laura. I'm gonna reach back out to you about that little Q&A class. Laura gave her number. It's Laura Phillips at Gmail. You said
at Laura Phillips at lauraphillips.com. I got my name.
Okay, Laura Phillips at lauraphillips.com, and Jair's at Jair Jair at homesbykuzi.com. And where else, Jair? Looks like you want to talk.
I'm just smiling because the camera's recording. I'm not used to it as the first one, so I'm smiling at all times.
You just fake smiling your way through it?
No. It's definitely a real smile. But yeah, you can definitely find me at Jair, Jair, at homesbykuzi.com. And out of Keller Williams, Boca Raton.
There you go. Awesome. All right, it was great. Awesome. We'll see you guys all in the next podcast. And thanks again, Laura and Jair.
Absolutely. Take care. You guys have a great week.
You too. Bye-bye.